Okay, we are recording. So this is part 2 of Heartspeak Level 1 in January 2020. All right, so, and you went okay with the others, Sherry?
Yeah, it was good. I did some with myself, and I did some with clients because I'm a therapist.
Awesome, awesome. That's really good. Diving right in.
I use it about 5 times.
Lovely. I mean, hey, great. And anyone else? Anything to? Okay, great. Let's get stuck right in. I thought what we would do is just start off with screen share first. No, let's not. So what let's start off with a clearing just to kind of blow the cobwebs out from last week, and if you can follow along or not, or just participate in the clearing if you want to follow along, that's great. Okay, so I would want to start with a physical symptom again, because that's what we focus on, that's what we left last time. And physical symptoms can be pretty much anything, like a foggy head or a fatigue. Let's do fatigue. Anyone feeling a little bit tired?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all at some point have a degree of fatigue, whether it could be low or it could be higher, but we can always, as with any feeling, we can always pick up a degree of peace or calm or anxiety. We all can have a certain level of intensity if we focus in on it. So let's try fatigue, because it's one of my favorite ones, and it's one of my favorite feelings to work with, because people have a way of, humans, we have a way of just sort of ignoring fatigue and saying, oh, I'm just tired, I didn't sleep well, or, you know, a new bed, new pillow, whatever, you know. But we can shift a lot of that using this type of work. All right, so let's do a group clearing on fatigue, and everyone in their mind just sort of focus in on the amount of the degree of fatigue they're feeling now. And 0 means I'm not tired at all. It doesn't mean necessarily you're invigorated, but you're not fatigued. You know? And 10 is the most tired ever, falling asleep in your chair. And for your own self, just keep it in your mind. And then we're going to just start picking it apart. Now, in group clearings, I really love doing group clearings for a few reasons. First, we all have the same stuff, so we can, it's very efficient. And also, it seems to be very powerful, sort of, when we're all clearing the same thing at the same time. All right, focusing on your number, the number of fatigue, the intensity. It's related to an emotion, an urge, a resistance, push or pull. It's a pull, and it's really, pull is really tiring to holding on all the time. So feelings don't have to make sense. This time it does. Okay, so point information, in the womb as baby as a child. So we're going to be children to clear this, little boy, little girl. Come forward, hold on either with your hands or your arms, and come forward and hold on, draw in, contract, and hold on and look for that no, I don't want to let go. I don't want to let go. You can't make me. And draw it in and even exaggerate it. Make it bigger than it might have been. And you can even ask your little self, hey, are you ready to let go? And you'll likely get back a big no. Okay. Let that little one hold on. Honor that. No. Until the no softens to a, okay. When it softens to an okay, you can sit up with your eyes closed. Let your little self take his or her time. And then when you're ready, open your hands, keep your eyes closed, open your hands, and whatever it was you were holding on to, now let it go, but feel it go. Feel it melt out of every cell of your body, from every corner of your mind. There it goes. And when it's gone, there's a beautiful sense of freedom waiting to come in. When it's gone, then enjoy freedom for a moment before opening your eyes. And then check in with the degree of fatigue. Feels better. How do you guys feel?
Better.
Yeah. A little more alert. Awesome. Cool. And it always surprises me because I come from like a body-mind paradigm. I started out as a chiropractor and then went into psychology. It doesn't really amaze me that they are so interconnected, but sometimes people are amazed that you can actually shift physical symptoms with this type of technique. Even
I am actually more awake. I was so tired, and now I'm like, oh, I have a sense of humor.
awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I love working. Even you, who you're a mind worker. You can help people through physical symptoms. In fact, in March, I'm giving a workshop to the Middle Eastern Psychological Association.
Oh wow!
It's pretty, on using this with chronic pain, the light version, HeartSpeak Light with chronic pain. That'll be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the screen share. All right, cool. So the next application, so basically I look at HeartSpeak is to be able to be used for kind of two general applications: physical symptoms and feeling symptoms. And really they're all just feelings anyway. So, we could really just say HeartSpeak can work with feelings, any kind of feelings, physical or mental, emotional. And here are, remember, I'm defining, now this is not my definition of a feeling. It is the researchers that I follow, that's their definition. Any conscious sensation. They say a feeling must be conscious for it to be defined as a feeling. That's the definition rather than that. In practical terms, we don't really use it like that, but that's how the researchers are defining it. So if using that definition, it could be physical symptoms, emotions, sensations, and any other kind of awareness. Now I've talked about what I call the subtle symptom, where we really should be paying attention to those little messages that our mind-body gives us, and working on them rather than being, I call it getting hit by a truck or getting hit in the head with a 2x4. We get down with a flu or whatever. So so start paying attention to those little flutters. And we're going to spend quite a lot of time here. So here are examples of feelings. And we already talked about physical symptoms. Let me get my little pointer going. All right. We already talked about physical symptoms: pain, tension, cramping, fatigue. But sometimes you might have to work around these feelings because, for instance, someone might come in and say, my knee was sore while I was running, but it's okay now. Well, you can work with the memory of the pain, the memory of the cramping. Like a lot of women, it was really bad last week with period cramps, but now it's fine. You know, it's hard to catch some feelings because they're cyclical. But we can use the memory of, which is really,
Right.
yeah. So I want to do that now. I want to show you how powerful that can be. And we all have physical symptoms that we've had in the past, but don't have currently. And if you could, maybe choose one that tends to recur occasionally, that maybe not be present now, but has been present in the past, that is likely to come back again, or may come back again. So choose that physical symptom, and then bring it up into your memory, and feel it. And using your memory, how intense does the discomfort feel? 0 means I feel no intensity of discomfort, no pain, no whatever. And 10 is the most ever. It was really bad as a 10. All right. Just, what do you think? What can you, sometimes people have a hard time doing this. If you guys got it, you can feel it in your memory?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. And then
I can't feel it where it was, but I can think about where I was feeling it yesterday.
Yes, and then using that memory, feel the intensity of the symptom, and then rate it on the 0 to 10 scale. All right, and let everyone have that number in their head. It's related to an emotion, an urge, a resistance, a pleasure. Now this is really common. Oftentimes when we are dealing with pain, pleasure comes up, and the client or the person you're working with says, whoa, wait a minute, what are you telling me? I have pleasure related to this pain? You're crazy. No, it's not. When pleasure comes up, it doesn't make sense. It often doesn't make sense. And feelings don't have to make sense. It's the logical mind, the thinking mind, that wants it to make sense. But the feeling mind doesn't really care. So we're going to put the physical symptom aside, and we're going to focus now on just a feeling of pleasure, which is a feeling of, oh gosh, that feels really good. And in heart speak, there's an element of wanting more, or a longing or craving as well. So it not only feels good, but you want more of it. Oh, just a bit more, a bit more. Everyone put that pleasure into their mind. And it's really a point of formation. Oh, there's no point of formation, so we're just going to go right into the clearing. So come forward and dive into a beautiful pool of that pleasure. It's that feeling you could lose yourself in. Lose yourself now. Let yourself completely let go in this pool of pleasure, completely relaxed. Yeah. And should it diminish, dive deeper and find more of that feeling of pleasure. Feels so good. Just completely lose yourself in this pleasure. And keep diving, keep enjoying, keep indulging. And at some point, it will feel like, I'm good, I've had enough. Take your time. If there's any yumminess left, longing or wanting, stick with it. But when I'm good, that feeling comes up, sit up with your eyes closed, but take your time. And then, because that feeling of pleasure is just a feeling, you could choose to feel it anytime you like. So choose it again now and enjoy it from a choice perspective. Enjoy it for a moment, that pleasure, before opening your eyes. And when you're ready, go back and look for the memory of that symptom. And again, sit with the memory and try to increase the intensity. And then rate it on a 0 to 10 scale. And how does that feel?
I've got about a half.
Okay, good. Excellent. Did you feel different, Pamela, as well? Awesome. Cool. Awesome. This is really,
Cool.
yeah. And because physical symptoms, there's a lot, there could be a lot of different facets to the physical symptoms. So you might have to do some tidying up of the symptom, especially, you know, coming from a chiropractic background. I used to treat a lot of people with really hot low backs. Really, they would barely be able to walk in. And then you'd see them every once. This is kind of one of the reasons why I got into, other fields, is because I got really tired of people coming in every 6 months or whatever with the same symptoms. So I wanted to know why they kept coming back. And they do, the more often more often someone has back pain, the more likely to come back. So you might have to look at the stress. It's the feeling or the stress around the symptom returning. So later we're going to talk about the 4 approaches, and one of the words we're going to use is consider. So I would, in this case, would use consider the symptom returning, consider the back pain returning, then I test for stress. Or sometimes they're with the symptoms so long that they wouldn't know themselves without it. Kind of comes be part of their persona. So consider being without the back pain, or without the headaches or whatever. And then knowing what to do, because I do believe whatever, the symptom is there to tell you something, and it's there to give you a message. You just kind of have to figure out what that message is. And I do believe also that when we get messages, we also know what to do to resolve them. So you might want to pose, consider knowing that you do know what to do to resolve the headache or the back pain or whatever. So you might have to do a bit of tidying up once the symptom feels better. Remember?
So when you say, I haven't really done this, but when you say consider the symptom returning, are you asking the other person to consider it and then you muscle test it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about this in more detail next night, later today, but it's basically a verbal challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Memories. We talked about memories of pain or memories of physical symptoms, but memories are really powerful, especially painful memories, and we all have them. I consider a painful memory to be anything that you bring to mind, recall, that still doesn't feel good, still hurts. We all have those. I always say I could run a practice by just helping people with painful memories. I could run a full practice because we all have them. And it's interesting because sometimes people don't want to, that shapes them, that event shapes them, so they don't want to get rid of it. And the way I approach that is, okay, well, think about that memory, and I'll muscle test, and their arm will go weak. And then I said, how would you like to be able to think about that and not have it physically stress you and harm your physical body? And they said, yeah, they would like that. So when we work with painful memories, you have to be a little bit cautious. Sometimes, you see people that, are trauma victims. They've had abuse or something like that. So you don't want to dive right in and get the person to recall that memory, but you would start with a memory, one aspect of it. So let's do an example of this now as a group. I'm going to ask you to recall a painful memory, not hugely painful, but mild to moderately painful. One that still hurts when you think about it, but isn't going to like re-traumatize you. And we all have a number of these, so choose one and rate the pain, the discomfort on a 0 to 10 scale. 0 meaning no pain at all, neutral, and 10 is the most pain ever. Keep that in your mind. And it's related to an emotion, an urge, a resistance, a pleasure, it's a drive. Okay, I'm just gonna pop over into a level 2 feeling for the moment, but don't worry, it's just the process is the same, just a few more feelings. And the feeling that we're gonna clear is called drive. And that feeling is, I have to do it, I just have to, I don't know why I have to do it, but I just have to do it. All right, get that in your mind. That drive feeling. This is fun. Close your eyes and imagine that drive feeling as an energy. I think they're all these feelings are energies. But feel the extent of this drive, this thing that's forcing you to do something. And feel its extent, its breadth, its depth, its density. And then explore that drive feeling like you're exploring a cave with a flashlight, a torch. And shine that flashlight everywhere around that cave. You know, caves are dark, but when you shine the light, it lights up and it stays lit. And explore every passageway, every crack, every crevice, every corner of every cavern. Some parts of that cave might feel denser or heavier or blacker or ickier, might need more light, in other words. That's okay, turn up the brightness on your flashlight. You keep exploring that cave until it feels explored fully. When you've felt it explored fully, sit up with your eyes closed. Take your time. And then we're going to open a door and usher this feeling out. We don't need this drive. Sometimes it's useful, but this time it's not. Usher it out. Whoosh, there it goes. Close the door behind it and look for the feeling of gratitude. And enjoy the fact that you have a choice. We call it rejoice in the choice. You have a choice. Have a little happy dance. Enjoy that gratitude for a moment. When you're ready, recall that memory, that same memory. Just sit with it for a moment. And on a 0 to 10 scale, give it another rating of pain or discomfort. How does that feel? Different?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, this is super powerful. It is, but as I said, just be cautious with people who have had trauma. You don't want to re-traumatize them. And dreams are also memories, because when you're recalling them, they're a memory. But you can work, do some really good work with recurring dreams, or people that have kids, for example, with night terrors that wake up screaming, and things like that. So
I had a really hard time with the visualization. To think of my drive as a tunnel, I don't know, I couldn't put that together.
That's all right.
Okay.
How do you feel? Do you feel different? The memory feels different?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you did it well enough.
Okay.
Yeah. sometimes, yeah, people will say that. People will say, I couldn't visualize, I couldn't. So, you know, some people learn different ways. You might want to bring in other sensations like hearing or touch or something like that, just to make it more real.
Okay.
Or just stick with the feeling. Well, you know, there's always that. Basically, you've in HeartSpeak, what we're going from the triggered feeling to the pivot feeling. However you get from here to here is up to you, but make sure that the triggered feeling is completely resolved before we go up into pivot. Okay. All right. And dreams. So how I deal with dreams is people will come in and say, oh, you know, or this happens. I see quite a few children with night terrors, and will mentally time travel to the moment that they woke up, screaming. And a lot of times at that point is no stress, but the point that we have to go to is just the moment before they woke up. So something happened there that triggered the waking up. So we do a lot of mentally time traveling here in HeartSpeak. So we'll mentally time travel to the moment that they woke up, test for stress, and then the moment just before they woke up and test for stress. And because a lot of times these kids, they won't recall their dreams. They oh, I don't know, they're just upset. But if someone recalls their dream, you could test for stress every salient feature of the dream. You know, it could be silly. It could be, oh, you know, what happened in your dream? Well, I drove to my mother's house, test. I parked in her driveway, test. I walked up to her front door, test. I knocked, test, and she didn't answer. Oh, there's a weakness. So that would clear that. And then we'd recall it all again. I'd knocked on her door. Okay, now it's strong. I looked in. There she was in the kitchen. Oh, with the neighbor, Mr. Frank or whatever. And then you just keep recalling the dream, and each point you can test for stress. Because dreams are, you know, the window to the non-conscious, so you might as well use them if they're giving you messages. Okay, now moving on to harmful feelings. I call them harmful. I'm tending to use the word triggered now instead of the harmful because, you know, they are useful sometimes. Anxiousness and panic are some of the most prevalent feelings that can be easily reduced with HeartSpeak. In fact, I did my master's thesis, my master's at Oxford on an anxiety disorder, spider phobia, and this was really useful for that. Panic attacks as well. There's a lot that we can do with that. I was working with a woman who said she had panic attacks. It was in Quebec and all in French. She had panic attacks every time she drove over the bridges in Montreal. Hold on. Let me just do something. All right, cool. All right, and she would drive over the bridge and she'd start to feel a panic attack. And in Quebec and in Montreal, there's a lot of bridges, a lot of rivers. So, you know, she's hard to avoid bridges, which, by the way, what people with anxiety disorders do is they avoid the possibility of them becoming anxious. So we did a little bit of work and we found out that it was all through an interpreter. My French is okay, but it's not that good that I can do a session in it. And we've ascertained that it wasn't actually bridges, it was heights in general. She doesn't like tall buildings or cliff edges or bridges. So we worked on both aspects in our session, and I didn't really know this, but what happened, so I was doing sessions at a colleague's house, and it was his clinic, and comes out, she comes out of the session, says she feels a lot better. He goes out into the garage, gets a ladder, puts it against the house. She climbs up onto the roof and stands on the roof without a problem. So that was a big shift. He can really help people with panic problems and any kind of anxiety. Depression, I don't use that word. I try to not use the word depression because it is more of a diagnosis, and I really don't want to label someone per se. And so if someone says, oh, I want to work on my depression, first of all, I say, it's not your depression. So I try to ask people not to own symptoms, not to own their feelings, because then they won't get rid of them if they're yours. So if you want to work on depression, that's okay. And then also when someone says or comes in and say, I'm depressed, I'd say, oh, so sometimes you feel down. So when I get to them to realize that it's not usually a steady state, you know, our moods ebb and flow. So I say, okay, well, sometimes you feel down. Okay, so anytime that you can use imagery, the feeling mind will appreciate it. So a lot of times I'll use imagery with feeling down, and I'll say, what does that feeling feel like? Does it feel like you're under a dark cloud, or there's something heavy on your shoulders, or does it feel like you're in a hole and you can't climb out of? And oftentimes I'll say, yeah, that's it, I'm in a hole. Okay, you're in a hole. Well, how deep is that hole? How deep does that hole feel? And they'll go, oh, it's about, I don't know, as tall as the house. Okay, well, there you go. There's your scale. There's your rating, as tall as the house. So imagine yourself as tall as the house. Imagine yourself in a hole as deep as the house. Test for stress. Oh, there it is. And then you find there's stress present. You find the category. You find the feeling. Is there a point of formation? You clear. You pivot. All right. Are you still in that hole? Yeah. How tall is that hole? How high is that hole now? Oh, only about as tall as the ceiling. Okay, it's a bit better. Okay. All right, so we'll start again. The hole is deep as the ceiling. Oh, there's stress there. We'll find another category, another feeling, another point of formation. We clear, we pivot that. You still in the hole? Yep. Oh, it's only about up to my shoulders. Okay. Can you climb out? Not yet. Okay, we go again. Are you still in the hole? Yep. Once they can climb out of the hole, get them out of the hole, and then test for stress. A lot of people have been in that hole for so long, they don't know themselves not in the hole. Sometimes it's stressful to be out of the hole. And then have them, you can do quite a lot of fun, have a little bit of fun, get them out of the hole, look back at the hole, walk away from the hole, watch out for other holes. Oops, you fall in another hole, test for stress. So, have a bit of fun with that. And frustration too is, by the way, frustration means if you look it up in the dictionary, it means your progress is thwarted. So if someone says, oh, I'm really frustrated at work, I said, okay, well, what seems to be stopping your progress? And they'll say, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, that seems like a lot. What does it feel like? Does it feel like there's like a mountain in your way, or boulder in your path, a brick wall? That's what it is, a brick wall. Okay, well, how big is that brick wall? Oh, it's about 10 meters tall. Okay, well, there's your rating scale again. That 10 meter tall, there's stress there. Find category, find the feeling. Basically, we're going to cut the wall down until they can get over the wall and on their path again. So you keep going, different feelings, until they can get over the wall and on their path again. And then because it's just an obstacle, you know, that wall is just an obstacle. So when they're on the path again, have a bit of fun. Look down your path. Does anything feel like it might impede your way or whatever? So you can have fun with them as well. And then grief. Grief is one of those feelings I really want to talk about specifically. Grief is a sadness around a loss. And because we can lose anything, we can grieve anything. And the thing that we make important, we have more grief over if we lose it. So, but I want to particularly talk about grief after a death, especially death of a close loved one, a parent, a spouse, a child, that kind of thing. And, you know, in my training, you know, we're told grief goes through stages. There's different phases of grief and all that. And how long should you grieve for? Well, in Australia, we have a saying, how long is a piece of string? It's different for everyone. You grieve as long as you grieve for. But I would never ask someone who's grieving, how much grief do you have, 0 to 10? That's kind of just rude. So you just kind of have to be gentle with people that are grieving. And I'll give you an example of how I typically how I handle grief. I was doing some consulting in locuming, actually. It was locum in Northern Ireland, and a young man came to see me because he was really sick. And he came to see me specifically for heart speak. And to his credit, he drove an hour at least once a week over the 9 weeks I was there, and he got a lot better. So much so that people in the street were asking him, wow, you look good, what are you doing? So he'd send other people to me. And he, after the locum was finished and I went away, they asked me back again every, 4 or 6 months or whatever, for a day or two patients. So I'd basically just be doing the heart speak on the patients all day. And one day, he would come every time as well. And one Saturday he brought his mother. He said, I don't want to have a session today. I want you to see my mother. And I asked her what was going on. She says, she said, my mother died. And he said, and she still cries about it 30 years later. So the mother's been dead 30 years and she still cries. And I, basically showed her the muscle test. I said, think about your mom, and her muscle test went weak. Well, think about your son, strong. Think about someone else, strong. Think about someone else, strong. Think about your mother, weak. How would you like to be able to think about mom and not feel bad? She said, yeah. It was a 30-minute session, and for 25 out of the 30 minutes, I just said, bring your mother to mind. And I tested for stress. We found a feeling, we cleared and pivoted. Think about your mother again, tested for stress. Found another feeling, clear and pivoted. We just kept going and going, just peeling layers off. Think about your mother until she could bring her mother to mind, and until the muscle test stayed strong. And that took about 25 minutes. And that she was done. She did great. And then I think it was about 18 months or so later, I was back at the practice there in Northern Ireland and doing some sessions, and the son came in and he kept inviting me up to the farm. He lived an hour away up in the farm. Come up to the farm, we're having a party. And for however long I knew him, 2 years or more, I never could come. But I could come. It was the next day. It was Sunday. It was like Mother's Day. It was First Communion and something else. Anyway, big party up there. So I come and, of course, get to the farm, and Mom is there and lots of other people. I said, hey, Mom, how you feeling? She goes, oh, thank you so much. I can now remember my mother and feel good and remember the good times. You could do a lot to, make people feel better about death, but not until they're ready. I have a friend in Texas. Her and her husband were part of a group of us that we just did a lot together, our group. And her husband passed away at the age of 54, suddenly just dropped dead. Absolutely unexpected. Absolutely gutted her. And that was 2 years ago. And she's still, not ready. I don't want to deal with it. You want to do heart speak? No. Well, you know where to go. Yeah. I mean, she knows she can come to me. She knows there's other people in the Dallas area she can go to. So she's not ready, but one day she might be. So just be very gently, tread very gently with people who are grieving. Invite, but, anyway, moving on. So beneficial feelings. One thing more about harmful feelings. These are harmful feelings. These are the triggered feelings. And sometimes you might have to help people find these as well. And any way you can is great. Like, for instance, some people say, like men, fear, I don't know what fear is. I can't feel fear. Okay. Or sadness. Boys don't cry. I don't feel sad. Okay. And women don't like to feel anger. So you might have to help them. I usually use props here. So what happens is it's there. So this feeling is there in the back of your mind. It's there. But there's going to be something blocking it, trying to keep you safe. I'm not feeling that anymore. So there's going to be something to block. So say, for instance, you ask a woman to feel angry. I can't feel angry. Okay. All you do is say, consider feeling anger, and then test for stress. So even just considering feeling angry is stressful, right? So you remove the stress around feeling angry, and then often they can feel anger. I mean, you might have to do a few clearings, consider feeling angry and look for the feeling of anger, things like that. Kind of might have to round it out a bit, but you can actually help people feel. Like I say to all my patients, clients, I won't ask you to feel anything that you can't feel. But sometimes you might need help to feel it. That's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. The good thing about the feeling mind, there is no right or wrong. It's always right. It's always trying to do the best thing for you. And pleasure is one thing that people struggle with. There's often a theme wherever I go in the world. There's often a theme feeling. I recall in Moscow it was pull, and in Dubai it was pleasure. Of course, it's all just women in the class, and they had a hard time feeling pleasure. And it was the quietest class I've ever. They always are the quietest classes I ever teach, and they'll come up to me and say, "Oh, my partner here, she can't feel pleasure," and then the next, and it would help them through, and then the next, I just can't feel pleasure, and it was all just very cute. But sometimes you have to actually help people feel these things. Consider feeling pleasure. Test for stress. No harm in that. Same thing with the beneficial feelings. Like we're pivoting to love and joy and peace and pride. I'll pick on the Irish because they're easy to pick on and they're lovely. I was working with an Irish full professor in an Irish university, a woman. And they would say it's rare as hen's teeth. For being a forward country, for being a developed country, it is one of the most backwards as far as women's rights and things like that. I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet, but she was a really intense woman, and she was very hard. So she, of course, came up with things like she couldn't feel fear, and she couldn't feel love, especially love. Of course, you pivot fear to love. Anger, no problem. Disgust, no problem. But love, no. So we actually have to unblock her way to feel love. And it's the same thing. Consider feeling love. Test for stress. And if there's stress present, away you go. Gratitude, too. It's a really nice gift you can give someone. I was working with a woman in her 40s. She had her own business, or probably a couple businesses. Lovely family, husband. It seemed like perfect family, perfect situation, perfect life from the outside. Of course, I know otherwise. I know nothing's perfect, but she said, I have everything, but I don't feel grateful for any of it. Well, okay. And then we did a whole session, on gratitude, feeling grateful. And a few days after the session, she rang me up for driving down the road. She said, I'm crying because I'm grateful for feeling grateful. So that was kind of cool. And knowing, because knowing, I believe that everyone should just know how things should be. No, shouldn't ever be questions. Should always just sort of, I think if you're questioning, if you're uncertain, there's something to clear. That's what I think. So you can have a lot of fun with knowing as well. Ask someone to say out loud, I know, or I know that I know. It could be a lot of stress, because once you know, you can't unknow. Yeah. And I'm just going to grab the Heartseat cards, because they're a lot of fun to work with too. Puppies behind me. Now, Heartseat cards are a deck of 50 cards that were painted by a lovely artist friend of mine. And they are 50 beneficial feelings, 50 lovely feelings. What I asked her to do is, I asked her, hey, Helen, could you paint a feeling? She said, I don't know. Let me try. So I gave her a few feelings to paint, and it was wonderful. And we did I said, do you want to do a project? And this is the result. And this is awe. This feeling is awe. So what she did is she embodied the feeling and painted what she felt. So these are symbols for feelings, or a painting interpretation of feelings. I've also had people that will give musical interpretation of feelings and things like that. It's kind of fun, but these are the paintings. So what could you do if you don't know what to do, want what to clear? Choose a card. It's really fun. Now, Pamela, because you're there and I can see you easily, do you mind if I choose a card on your behalf?
Please do.
Okay. So I'm going to, no, actually you're going to do it. I'm going to just deal, and you tell me when to stop, and I'll turn that card over.
Okay. Now.
Supported.
Oh.
And then while you're looking at this card, I'm going to muscle test, right? And that's weak. Okay, so I'm going to pick a card for you just randomly out of the deck. And it's potent. Look at that card. And that's testing strong. And then I'm going to pick another card on your behalf. And this is the feeling of knowing. And that's strong. And then look at supported again. And that's weak. You seem to actually just pick the cards, pick the feelings that you need. And they seem to have a life of their own, these cards. I will get messages from all over the world. saying, "Oh, I got a deck of Hearthstone cards, but how come I keep there's 50 cards, how come I keep picking the same card?" Um, and I was showing the cards to my friend who has a little boy, 9 years old, and he's a very serious kid, lovely kid, but he doesn't like muck around like other 9-year-olds do, sort of just very serious all the time. So he said, "Oh, can I pick a card?" And I said, "Sure." So he picked the card Playful. And he didn't want that card. He's like, "I don't want that card. I want a different card." So I said, "Okay." So he said he picked another card, and he picked Funny, the next card. And he said, "Oh, I don't want that card either. That card." So I said, "You want to pick another card?" He did. He picked Hilarious. I kid you not. He picked Hilarious. And you just don't make this stuff up. I mean, it is just really interesting. I have patients, heart speakers who've got the cards, like a chiropractor puts it on their, as the patients come in. More times than not, like there's 50 cards in the deck, but a lot of times patients will keep picking the same card at random. It is very strange. So you can have a lot of fun.
Question.
Yeah.
So what would you do then, like with testing week for something?
Supported. Yeah, so put supported on your list. And what we'll do is you just look at the card, test for stress. There's stress present, and you just will clear it.
Okay.
And then card again, test for stress.
Okay.
And then you could round it out, like say, "I am supported, I feel supported."
Right.
Yeah, things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And we could also do light work and shadow work. You've heard of shadow work, yeah? Where shadow work, my interpretation of shadow work is whatever you are criticizing someone else or find fault in someone else or don't like about someone else, put that on your list of things to clear, you know? Anytime you're judging or criticizing. And light work, on the other hand, is anytime that you are envious about someone, that something that you think you don't have and wish you had, put that on your list too. "Oh, look at her hair, look at her, I wish I had a husband like that," or "I wish I had whatever." Put that on your list to clear. So that's light work and shadow work. You can do a lot. These are whole day long workshops I could run. Right. So the next is we're going to do, well, we've done some demos. So I'm going to send you off to do your own little clearings, and I'll leave this up as well. I want you to clear at least, say, 4 things that are feelings. It's more like emotional stuff, like maybe a painful memory. If you want to keep working on that painful memory, do that. Or if you're feeling a bit anxious about something, work on that. Anything that we talked about, anything that's a feeling. Sound good? And it's 5, well, in my world it's 5:56. So, and just do 15 minutes. So we'll come back at, just between 10 past and 15, around 10 past the hour. Sound good? 15 minutes. Cool. All right. Have fun. Whoops, sorry. Go back.
You're not. Okay, good. Talking for Jerry.
All right.
They're stressed.
How are you guys doing? All
We're
good.
not.
Good.
Good, good.
You can't hear us.
I can now, yes.
Oh, you can. Okay. We didn't have enough time to finish.
Oh, okay.
I'm still have stress present.
Oh, we did 2 rounds.
Okay, that's good. Excellent.
And what I found is I started with one question, and that led me like that one lesson, but then I'm like, oh, now my head's really pounding. So then I worked on the head, and then as that lesson, I realized that my back was really tight. So like I just kept moving around to whatever seemed to be the biggest issue at the very moment.
Okay, yeah. I call that chasing symptoms. Yeah. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
So what I got into is fight, which is probably why I didn't have enough time to finish because, you know,
That can be
I
pretty.
got exhausted.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. But you get the idea of around
Yeah.
these. Not good. I don't mean to ignore you over there in Russia. I think you're in Russia, but if you have any questions, just pop up. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Somebody just come. They tried. There's a little square, but no people.
All right. I'm going to mute you guys again. All right. Carrying on. This is just basically saying you can also go up a scale. So you often go down, you go down, down, down. You don't always go down linearly. Sometimes you bounce around a bit, but it is what it is. Most of the time you go down, but you can go up. And fatigued to neutral, the 0 fatigue isn't ideal. You'd rather go to energized. So then you could go, once you're 0 fatigue, then you could carry on and say, okay, how energized do you feel? And you can go up the scale. And when you're going up, I find that you never really get to 10. I mean, it's an ideal. To 10 is the ideal. And you don't want to put a glass ceiling on yourself. So go as far as you can until there's no stress. And you keep going until either the person says, you know, I have no more stress, or I have no more pain, excuse me, or until the muscle test says no stress. When the muscle test says strong here, excuse me, I mute myself. Come on, there we go. When the muscle test stays strong here, I think of it as, you know, nothing more to see here today. Just move on to something else. All right. Okay, now, it's easy to fool the eye, but it's hard to fool the heart. Yeah, can't fool the heart. And I read this, this is a Dostoevsky quote, and I read a lot of Dostoevsky in my youth. This is one of the quotes that really resonated with me. Every man has some reminiscences which he would not tell to everyone, but only to his friends. And he has others which he would not reveal even to his friends, but only to himself, and that in secret. But finally, there are still others which a man is even afraid to tell himself. And every decent man has a considerable number of such things stored away. And I thought, wow, you know, we really need to get at, you know, these different levels, you know. So which this inspired the different approaches. So the speaking out loud, that's like you're telling the world, you're telling your friends. And I actually think it's less, everyone's different. Sometimes it's less stressful to speak it than to yourself. So say, first you deal with your issue. What do I want to work on? Say someone comes in with maybe confidence issues, like they don't feel good enough. That's the issue we're working on. So an out loud statement would be, I'm good enough, test for stress. All right. And there's different ways you can use these approaches. These are all ways to get in, to start the process. So when I first started teaching HeartSpeak, the most common feedback was, I love it, but I don't know how to start. I don't know where to start. So now I give you a whole bunch of ways to start. And these are 4. Sometimes what I do is I'll do all 4 approaches at once, or I'll just pick and choose. Like I'll often say, consider blah, 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 blah. Either way, not that, my puppy. Either way, just make a note of which one stayed what week. So you say a statement out loud, like, I am good enough, test for stress. If that's strong, if that goes weak, you can stop and clear it and carry on, or carry on, just carry on. Just make a note. Okay, that went weak. Let's do it in your mind. Say I am good enough in your mind, and when you've said it, nod your head, and they'll say, oh, that went weak. So either you can stop and clear it there, or carry on. So this was strong, this was weak. Let's see what consider. And then you consider is basically a verbal challenge. Now, as you do, I played around. I'm a feeler, so I feel how different things affect me. And consider, really, for me, it sort of opens up. My mind body goes, it's basically, what are all the possibilities that can happen? And what's great about, I think, consider is that the non-conscious mind will pick things up too, that you can't even do consciously. So it really opens things up, and it kind of tweezes out those little hidden little things. So consider that you're already good enough, test for stress. Consider that you're good enough right now. Consider you're good enough just the way you are. And there's some things to clear there. All right. So and then make a mental note if this went weak. If it went weak, you can stop and clear, or you can just make a mental note and carry on. And the feeling of. Look for the feeling. As again, it's sort of a verbal challenge, but the person's going to look for the feeling of being good enough. The feeling of being good enough, and test for stress. Okay, so in a session, you could start. She's just playing. She's 6 months old. To be a bit cheeky sometimes. Okay, so in a session, you could pick and choose. You don't have to do them in order. You don't have to do anything particularly. Pick and choose. But if you do the 4 approaches as a set, do the farthest one around that went weak. So if this one went weak and this one went weak, 2 and 4, start with the feeling of. So the feeling of, look for the feeling of being good enough. Oh, there's stress. You go through the whole process, and then look for the feeling of again, and that stayed strong. But then test all the others again. A lot of times when you clear this, the farthest one around, it'll tidy up the others as well. Not always, but a lot of times. And sometimes another one will come out, like, oh, well, now this has to be cleared. That's okay too. So that's a way to get in. So that's what we're gonna do now. So let's do, I mean, we always can feel more good enough. So let's do that one. It's not playing the game. There we go. So I'm going to unmute you all. And let's do the 4 approaches as a group. So we're going to say out loud, I am good enough. Oh, I didn't mention this and I need to mention this. What I've noticed is, shush, shush, shh, 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 quiet. What I've noticed is that some heart speakers will just do statements out loud. The spoken word is, I think, the least powerful, the least deep, or the least something. I think you're missing the boat if you just do a spoken statement.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're useful, certainly are useful to get people, especially those who are very thinking mind oriented. They like words, great, use words initially, but then make the others, feather the other ones in as well. But just don't do statements. And if you do statements, and there's nothing wrong with doing statements, by the way, but just don't do just statements. Turn it also into a feeling. Heartspeak's all about feeling. So you can turn it into a feeling experience for the person, especially people that say, oh, I'm not really good at feeling. If you do this, it will help them be better at feeling. So what we're going to do is say the statement, I am good enough, out loud. Go ahead. We'll just do it on a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm good enough.
I am good enough.
Sorry, I messed that up. 1, 2, 3.
I am good enough.
And there's a weakness there. And by the way, when I do group sessions, it will go weak if it benefits the whole group. What comes up will benefits the whole group as a whole. That's the intention I have. So that went weak, which means there is stress. Now I'm going to ask you to look for the stress, feel for the stress. And you're going to listen to how it sounds. So we're going to close our eyes and listen to how that statement sounds. And you're going to feel here and how it feels. All right, so close your eyes. And also, you're not going to say it to me. You're not going to tell me you're good enough. As if you're announcing it to the world. Tell the world, I'm good enough. All right, on the count of 3 again. 1, 2, 3.
I'm good enough.
All right, now did you feel the edginess to it, the dis-ease?
Yep.
Okay.
I sound like I was yelling at them.
I know, right? All right, and then, so we'll just make a mental note of this was weak for the group. And now we're gonna say it in your mind. Say, I'm good enough in your mind, and nod when you said it. 1, 2, 3. And that's weak. And then this is a verbal challenge. All you have to do is kind of just listen and feel. Consider being good enough. And that's testing strong. I'm just going to rephrase it a bit. Consider that you're already good enough. And that's strong. Consider that you're good enough just the way you are. And that's strong. So I'm going to move on. And look for the feeling of being good enough. And there's a weakness there. Do you feel the discomfort, yeah, there's something along on that too. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the farthest one around, which is the feeling of. We're gonna clear that, and then we're gonna retest all the others. All right, let's do this again. Look for the feeling of being good enough. And there's something to clear. It's related to an emotion. So fear, anger. Anger, point of formation. There's no point of formation. So in this case, a lot of people will actually think of things that they're angry about and use that to generate the feeling. That's fine, but don't stop at one thing. Be angry at everything and every little thing you could think of. Just keep that anger going until it runs its course. You emerge from the anger tunnel. All right. So make your hands and fists angry face. And let's clear an anger. Make it big and bold, physical and real. And if you remember the pivot and are ready to pivot, it's joy. But go ahead. If you're still clearing, still clear it. And then pivot to joy and let your hearts dance with joy for a moment before opening your eyes. Awesome. And then let's go around again. You're going to say, I am good enough out loud, but you're going to listen to how it sounds and feel how it feels. On the count of 3, 2, 3.
I am good
I'm
enough.
good enough.
It's different, right? Feel good? Better?
Yeah.
That's good, by the way. And then say it in your mind, I'm good enough. And then nod when you said it. 1, 2, 3. And that's strong. I'm just going to retest. Consider that you're already good enough. Consider that you're good enough now, just the way you are. Testing strong. And then look for the feeling of being good enough. And that's testing strong. Was that easier to grab that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
So what what you'll find though, remember I said you could help people if they can't find a feeling because it's blocked by something, usually another feeling. You can actually when you remove that block and they can feel the love or the whatever they need to feel, it actually just feels easier to feel. It feels, oh, I can feel a bit of that. Cool. Awesome. So that's how we do the 4 approaches. Let's carry on. I don't think this has been a problem in this group. Y'all can you all test yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So just for fun, say I can test and clear myself using HeartSpeak. Say that out loud.
I can test
and clear
and
myself.
using HeartSpeak.
And that's strong. Okay, cool. And normally in an in-person class, what we do now is do self-clearing. But since you've already, we're going to do it anyway. But just do some clearing on yourself. And I know, Pamela, you have. I don't know, Jerry, have you been doing it on yourself, or have you been doing it with each other?
I've been doing it on myself around addiction.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, cool. All right. So I'm just going to, how much time? Let's do another play shop. I want you guys to get like through a real, feel like you're at a good spot. Like I don't want you to get cut off this time, like Jerry.
Okay.
Let's go 20 minutes.
About 25.
25, okay. All right, and, oh good, it's 6:30. So this time, you can choose whatever. Like if Pamela, if you want to do that again, just choose a feeling symptom, physical symptom. But again, like when you're in the clearing and something comes up, just make a mental note. Oh, now that I could check that, but finish what you were clearing and then go to that, the new thing. So if you don't have, if you're wondering what to clear,
We're good.
Yeah. Okay. I know, right? My list is never empty, man. All right. So we'll come back just on 25 minutes or so. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Have fun.
Okay. So.
Whoops. Hold on. I'm gonna mute everyone again and.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about, do we want to check?
All right. All right. Mute everyone. How'd you all do?
Good.
Yeah, good. Anything interesting come up?
Huh?
Anything interesting?
Anything interesting come up?
Not really.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I'm boring.
No. Well, anything you couldn't handle, nothing. Okay, that's good.
Are we in the dark?
You are.
Why are we in the dark?
Sometimes a camera does that.
Oh, okay.
And Pamela, I like your fire. It's awesome.
I know, I decided I needed to warm up a little.
It's cool. Yeah.
No,
that. Yep.
I was going to say that was very interesting. And the more I do this, the more confident I feel in doing it. Doesn't feel so foreign or alien or doubting it. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And that's it. It's a process that you can actually feel palpable. So, and I could talk about it all day, but unless you actually experience it, you have no idea really.
Right.
Also, there's a level 2 coming up. I should mention in March. Same thing online. Don't know what time. Forget, but it should be listed on our website.
What's that about?
Level 2 is, well, level 1 is all about learning the process and the principles of what we do and why we do it. Level 2 is about making it your own. So we get caught in the trap of processes, but HeartSpeak, you should evolve with it. You should make it your own, basically. Just more feelings we add and more ways we can use. We talk about intuition and ways we can do that, and just change. Once you have the process down, then you could do some altering. And it's not particularly any more information. It's just how to make it more intuitive.
So you're never going to be in Quebec?
Yes, I'm in Quebec in June. May, June weekend, last week.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that might be better for me.
Yeah, there will be
person.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great group. You speak French?
Nope. Is everybody speaking French?
No.
Good.
I talk in English and it's translated into French, and it's there's going to be a good amount of people there that that speak both languages or just speak English. So don't. Okay. There's always plenty.
I think that would be better for me in person.
Yeah, it's good fun. And it's also fun to do level 2 online because it's a lot of play shopping, and we get to do the rooms. It's just break it.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we do in level 2, there's a lot of play shops. So what we do is we split people up into rooms, and they get to do this on each other in rooms, which is quite good. They'll say they liked it. And it's also, you get to practice doing it remotely, which is really, really good as well.
Yeah.
All right. So, interesting. Actually, this comes at the end. We're nowhere near the end. Okay, so, no, there's a bit more. Okay, so I don't think this has been a problem in this group as much, but some people say, oh, well, what if all the categories come up? Well, you don't go on to once you get a week, if emotion comes up, you go back and that's the intention I always have is whatever feeling will come up first, that's the most important one. There might be others, yeah, but do the one that comes up first. And that's why I put fear here, because it is, I think, one of the most common feelings that come up. And pleasure isn't necessarily uncommon, it's just different than the others, so that's why it's over there. Also, you know, you'll get people that will come in with a lot of stuff going on. They'll just go bleh, and everything will come out, or they'll have a list. I have patients that will bring in sheets of paper, double-sided, with lists of things. This is what I want to work on. I said, okay, like this list. And like, where do you start with someone like this? Well, you start somewhere. And there's a few different ways, strategies that I use. Sometimes I muscle test for priority. For example, oh my gosh, there's a lot on here. And if it's a list, they'll have a list of things, and I'll say, okay, maybe it's 2 sides. Maybe the priority is on this side test. No, not that side. How about this side? Yeah, that side. How about the top half? Nope, the bottom half. And then I'll go boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is the one we're going to start with. Sometimes I also put it all in the bucket. This is actually the really, I use a bucket a lot. What that means is it's really useful to, like, for instance, oh my gosh, there's so much going on with you today. Let's just put it all in the bucket. Anything that's causing you stress or upset or dis-ease, put it in the bucket. And how full is the bucket? 0 is empty, 10 is full, 11 it's overflowing. Most of the time, these people will say it's 11. And that's fine. And you just keep taking feelings out of the bucket until the bucket's as empty as possible. That's probably the most common approach that I use with people like these. I also ask the patient what's most important. So for instance, I'd say something like, wow, you know, there seems to be a lot going on with you today. Of all this stuff, what's most upsetting? And, you know, if you ask that question, you must be prepared to start with what they ever say. So for example, they might say, the rash on my bum is most upsetting. I'm thinking, really? After everything that's on this list? This is what I'm thinking, but not really, no judgment. The rash on your bum is most important. Okay. So usually what we do with physical symptoms like this is touch and test. So put your hand there, test for stress or stress, and we clear it. And then once we do that clearing, I'll be listening all along. How because there'll be voice changes when a person's stressed. You'll hear it in their voice, and you'll watch their face to see which ones bring up the most stress or upset. So even though, okay, we cleared that. So then let's, you know, your aunt, you say you're sick, just think about your aunt. Bring your aunt to mind, test for stress. So there's different ways you can, strategies with it when there's a lot. And I always encourage these people. I have friends that come with me with lists like that. And they're friends. They've been friends before HeartSpeak and, you know, way before. They're good friends too, and they'll just go bleh to me, and I said, oh well, you know, so you can train. In other words, what I'm trying to say is you can train the people around you to come to you before it gets to that, you know, camel's last straw sort of situation. And I love working with people who aren't in crisis. Yeah, they usually come to see me when they're, you know, something is really wrong, right? And it's in their face. But I work with people throughout the year. I really encourage you to do this as well. Have regular sessions, even though, oh, I don't need it. You can really work on some deep things that may not necessarily take center stage when there's other crises going on. So encourage people to come in, even with their subtle symptoms or little symptoms. All right, and people say, oh, where do I start? Where do I start? Really, you know, you're only limited by your own imagination, really. And there are some processes out there that use the word okay. In fact, there's one process that actually uses it really specifically. They define it. It's all very special. But, you know, it's an English language word, so we can use it as well. In fact, it's used in other languages for the same meaning. And it just made, I'm okay, means I'm all right, I'm fine, I'm well enough, everything's cool. Often, so in other words, feel free to use this word too. It's not, doesn't really belong to any particular group. It's like, for instance, just, you know, say, oh, well, I'm okay with my aunt, or I'm okay with my mother, you know. You could always use that to test for stress. It kind of will, might bring out a bit of stress. And I often finish a session with a person saying, just say, I'm okay. Basically, it's my way of asking their mind, body, is there anything else you want to work on before we wrap it up today? It's a nice way of just sort of checking in, because I don't have all the answers and they don't have all the answers. They have more answers than me, but it's just a nice way to ask the body, mind, body. Yeah. And here's a tip: when you're questioning something, when there's something is not clear, there's, as I mentioned before, there's something to clear. Also, people will try to deflect and blame and point fingers and everything, but always bring it back to how it impacts the person or yourself, whoever, if it's you. It's hard to recognize this in yourself, though. I was having coffee with a friend, and a couple of his friends came over, and long story short, he was blaming someone else for something, and one of his friends picked it up and told him, like, don't blame such and such. And he didn't even realize he was doing it. I'm not blaming. So it's hard to really see it in yourself when you deflect. So it's really good to have kind friends to point it out to you. I'll give you an example about an extreme example, about how a person can deflect. I was working with a patient for years, and she was in her 60s, and she swore up and down that when she was 18, her twin brothers raped her. And I think I mentioned this last time, I'm not sure. And she would always, oh, I saw my brother the other day, and he still doesn't ever admit that he did it. You know, when will he, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so we really have to bring the focus back on how it's impacting her. So I would do this regularly. I would ask her, so consider that your brothers actually did do this, test for stress. Consider that they did it and they'll never admit it, test for stress. Consider that they didn't do it. Consider that they did it and they will admit it one day, test for stress. So, yeah, so you could, it's regardless, we can't really change what happened, and we don't even know if it actually happened for sure. And that's why memories, memory, you know, memory is inaccurate, it's tricky. So always try to bring it back to how the patient will, how the patient feels. All right, and then also it's not about you. People take things really personally, especially, and there's no really room for that when you're working with someone. So it's not really about you, but it's your job as a heart speak to actually bring people's feelings up. And when people's feelings come up, they could misdirect them to you. Maybe they get a little angry. It seems like they're angry at you or something. If that happens, that's okay. First of all, don't take it personally. Second of all, step out of yourself and deal with it. And this is how I would deal with it. So I noticed that I noticed that, wait, I wouldn't say that. What would I say? I would say, wait, let's just stop here for a moment. Let's just ask, I'll just ask you to say this out loud. Say, I'm okay continuing this heart speak session, text for straps. How about,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to count? I'm okay continuing this heart speak session.
yes. And I'm okay continuing this heart speak session with Anne. I'd call
I'm
her in the third person, yeah.
I'm okay continuing this heart speak session with Anne.
Yeah, or with yourself, yeah. Don't say me, call yourself in the third person. So that way it's like, oh, talk about someone else.
Sherry's okay continuing this heart speak session with Anne.
All right, and then once that's cleared, often I find this goes quite well. And you're gonna get, if you do see other people, you're gonna get people that will. This is different. It's hard for people to feel sometimes. So sometimes what I do is just suggest we stop. And more often than not, when we suggest we stop, they'll want to continue. It seems like you don't really want to do this. Oh, I can remember this young man who's, I don't know, 17 or 18. His mother was loving her heart speak sessions, and her son was quite abusive to her, which is one of the reasons why she needed heart speak. And so she convinced him to come in for a session, but I found out later that I think there was a bribe involved of something that I really wanted. So he sat there and just sat there like this the whole session and refused to do anything. So pretty much didn't do anything. Yeah. So you can't do heart speak if you don't want to play. That's it. So carrying on. What you meet in another being is a projection of your own evolution. In AA, they call it, you spot it, you got it, It's not about you. It's about what that person is bringing up for you. Yeah. And with heart speak, with anything really, allow people to come to you. Like you be really, I'm guilty of this, I get really excited about something, and I'll used to anyway. I want to hey, come here. I know this really great new technique called heart speak, and just give me your arm, and I'll show you. I don't go do that anymore. I'm out now. Invite people. That back pain. I know you've been seeing physios and chiropractors, and I know it's still around. What if you couldn't? What if it wasn't around anymore? What if we could do something to shift it? So ask the what if questions. Here's my card. Come see me. I noticed blah, blah, blah. Heart speak has been known to help that. Come see me. I'll give you not embarrassing, but something that happened early on to me. I was very excited about this type of work, and I was getting really great results in practice. And I'm a swimmer, and in Australia we had a really good Olympic swimming team. So it was just about ready to go to the Olympics. I think it was Athens. And I noticed one of our gold medalists and our really good women swimmers was not swimming well. And she was having drama, like she'd blame it on her cap or her suit or her goggles or her coach. It was like one thing after another, and the commentators on the news were making fun of her. And it was kind of like, and you see little articles in the paper about her, and it was heartbreaking because she was an Olympic athlete, a gold medalist, Commonwealth gold medalist too. And so I wrote to her, emailed her coach. I said, hey, this is who I am. This is what I noticed. I sent the coach some articles, and this is how I might be able to help. Call me if you're interested. Well, he called, And we made a time to come down to the pool, and I get there, and I'm a swimmer, so I'm like all kind of like, oh my God, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. I was so starstruck. So I was very excited. So they get out, finish their training session, they get out, and I go back to the coach's office with him and waiting for her to get changed and dressed. She comes in, and the coach says to her, "This is Anne. She's going to help you with your head." And she went like this. She didn't know I was coming. She didn't know what was going on. She just was kind of blindsided by her coach. To her credit, she played along. We had a session of just over an hour and worked on, in sports psychology, we call it internal locus of control, where, you know, what are you responsible for? What can you control? So we let go of things that, you know, we don't have control over. So we worked on that, and she did pretty well. And then we went away. She went off to the Olympics and won gold medals, and kind of became a team leader for that team, and didn't hear about her in the news anymore. Come to find out, the coach told me that she thought it was all bollocks, but whatever. So I wouldn't do that again. I would say to the coach, okay, so if she's interested, give her my details, have her call me. So I would approach it in a different way now. So invite. And I keep inviting. You know, I don't make a nuisance of myself, but I do invite. You know, my friends that go blah to me, I go, "Oh, it sounds like you want a session. It sounds like you could use a session." You know. So now they book in. So it's lovely. So just invite. Also, you can't wake a person who's pretending to be asleep, or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't. HeartSpeak is a very active process. As I mentioned, the young man who just didn't do anything in a session. If someone doesn't think they have a problem, they don't. And unless they want to change, they're not going to. So it's kind of pointless.
They don't believe it.
Yeah.
Right. Then
Also, there's processes out there. Whose feeling is this?
for them.
Who does it belong to? Is a question that Access Consciousness asks, for example. Have you heard of Access? It's it's an energy technique that decreases de-stresses the situation. That's pretty much just about asking questions. And so, but I've actually seen people say, literally do something like, ugh, they're feeling something, and they'll go, oh, who does that belong to? I've seen that. So this is the stance. This is a stance that we take in HeartSpeak, is that if you're feeling something and it's causing you stress, and we can detect that using the muscle test, regardless of where it originates, you have something to clear. So if you are feeling, if it's stressful for you, you got the work to do, regardless. Remember, feelings are contagious, so we can pick up on each other's feelings, especially if we have unresolved emotional content about it ourselves. We will react in a stress response. So you just got a bit of work to do. I think we covered this okay. Past lives, I usually don't use the word past life, because I think time doesn't actually work like that, but regardless, and I usually say you were driving a different body. And in HeartSpeak, if it comes up preconception, we just ask, where were you before you were conceived? In fact, this happened to me this week. I had a new patient, and it came up preconception, and usually I don't really like these weird, I don't like to go weird places on the first session, but anyway, this is where we needed to go. So I just asked her, where was she before you were conceived? And she's like, looked at me as if, what? Yeah. And I asked her again, we think about where we go when we die, but do you ever think about where you came from before you were here? And I knew her background, so I knew she believed in God and heaven. So she said, I was in heaven with God. So can you feel whatever feeling it was? It was a pull. Can you feel that pull feeling back, in that heaven space? Yeah, in a way she cleared it. Yeah, but it is, we don't go into the details. We don't go into the story. We just feel the feeling in that space. So, and it is part of going down the rabbit hole. So we just, whatever people bring to the table, that's what we do. By the way, in level 2, we go into a little bit more context, but we try to keep it not detailed, just really general. Also, has anyone heard of the vanishing twin?
Yes.
Yeah, really good concept to use. And the vanishing twin syndrome is when, say you're always clearing something, it always comes up in the womb, in the womb, in the womb, in the womb, in the womb. We're always clearing in the womb. Why is that? So I don't know, about the 4th or 5th time it comes up, I pose the concept that maybe there was another baby in the womb with you. And there was. And a vanishing twin is that there was 2 babies, 2 conceptions, and then one, at some point, one of them goes away.
Eat the other one.
Where it goes is who knows. Sometimes there's spotting, and then the mom, in the first trimester especially, is common. A lot of times the second twin goes in the first trimester, usually in the first 3 months. And the mom runs to the doctor, I'm spotting, gets an ultrasound. The baby's fine. Well, that baby's fine. The other baby, on the other hand, is not. What happened to that? I had an opportunity to speak to a sonographer, and it was a social situation, so it wasn't a professional capacity. I was just chatting with her. Oh, you see babies? You ever see, how many twins would you see in there? Oh, I forget how we started the conversation, but I asked her in the first trimester, would she sometimes see 2 babies? And she said, yes, we call it a shadow. So there's a baby and then a shadow. I said, what? Yeah, but by the second ultrasound in the second trimester, there's only one. It's not, the shadow's gone. I said, really? How often would that happen? Oh, probably every other pregnancy. So it is not an unusual thing. And it's getting to be more and more common, this whole idea of a vanishing of a twin in there. I read a book called The Lone Twin, and this book was about how twins who lost twins sometime from birth to adulthood. It was a book written by a researcher, anthropologist of some kind, in Birmingham in England, and she studied the grieving process of twins who lost twins. I read her book, and a lot of the things she found you could directly apply to a lost twin. Now, you've heard of attachment theory. And attachment theory is how you do your very first relationships. How your first relationships go will predict how your future relationships will go. And it's usually thought of your attachment with mother. But if there's another baby in the womb with you, think about it. If you're in the womb and that's all you know, pretty much, from the very beginning till when the twin dies, that twin was with you all your life. Constant presence. So it's kind of a big deal when there was 2. So use the concept, but please don't go into too much detail. And when this comes up, sometimes it can be quite emotional for people. It kind of they'll say, oh, I always thought I was half, or I always thought there was a piece of me missing. They'll say things like that. And healers, by the way, they often go into the healing arts because of they have lost a twin they didn't exactly know about. There was a set of twins I worked with who was, their mother dragged them, but to their credit, they were twin boys, identical twin boys who, I don't know, they were about 12, 13, 14, and even until recently, they were seeing me and in England, and one of the twins kept coming up, the vanishing twin kept coming up for him. So the theory is that maybe there was a third twin in the womb that we didn't know about. So the mother, I love the way the mother explained it to her very logical 14-year-old son, that sometimes it's not safe sometimes it's not safe, or
It's like me.
yes, to deal with whatever's happening now, so we can just imagine that and clear it using your imagination, and that will work just the same. Yeah, so that's good too. Get it. But anyway, just have it in the back of your mind that there could be another twin. There could be another baby in the womb if you keep clearing things in the womb. I used to give this website out, but
You just scratch on it, you just rub.
it used to take you to a website that has all the stories about the twins. But now it's just, he wrote a book now, so now it's just selling his book. Sad, there's no stories. I'm really sad because it used to sell some really good stories. I guess you just got to read the book. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you do this. I'm okay. We're really ahead of schedule, but we could carry on. So I'm going to have you do this to yourself. Just really feel, like, say it out loud. Do the 4 approaches, actually. Yeah, we could do that. Use the 4 approaches. Testing yourself. I'm okay. And when you say it out loud, really listen to how it sounds and feel how it feels. Okay? And this should probably take not more than 10 minutes. So,
Okay.
So come on back when you are, I'll just stick around, and come on back when when all 4 approaches are clear. Cool.
So I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So will you put the slide back up with the 4 approaches?
Yeah, just a second. Let's see. There we go. There's one. I'm okay.
It's out loud in your head. Even that you're okay.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. So I'm okay. Negative.
Find the feeling of fear. Do not need a reason to feel fear. Do not need to know why. You don't need to explain. All
What
that.
did you guys do?
I just
You guys-
started.
Oh, he just started. Okay. All right, a few more minutes.
Keep going. Find it and keep it in your mind.
It looks like you're done. Hold on, let me unmute you all. There you go. Are you ready?
Yes.
How'd you go with that?
For
tried.
me,
Oh,
that's all right. For
Sorry.
me, it was, I tested, when I went through the 4 approaches, I tested week on in my mind. So I just started with that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it was really cool. I really enjoy it.
yeah, awesome. And how'd you
I
go?
tested week on all 4, so I started with number 4.
Yeah, good. And how do you test now?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm still weak on number 2.
Okay. All right, more work to do. There's always more work.
I'm surprised. I thought number 4 would clear them all out.
Usually, it often does. Not always, but often. All right.
Yeah, it's clear now. Just took a minute.
Yeah, sometimes that happens too. Sometimes it just takes a little while for the
I think it's
catch up, really. All right, and there's sometimes to use hard speak with caution. These are just, every common sense, really. When you're tired, unwell, or stressed, there's times where you can help yourself, and there's times when you need to actually ask for help. Well, just, ask someone else to do some hard speak if you're not really in a condition to do it. And don't do hard speak with someone who doesn't want to do it. Can't. Or someone who's experienced an altered or abnormal reality. This is someone who's either drunk, high, or psychotic. Don't.
same with disassociation.
Possibly. It depends on the person. If they can feel, I would still do it. I wouldn't do it with someone who doesn't.
Feel.
Who can't really. Yeah. I've only worked with someone somewhat dissociated person that just, yeah, it wasn't, she couldn't feel, she couldn't, she could feel, she said she could feel other people's feelings, but yeah, there was some other stuff going on there, I'm sure. And we never use it instead of medical or psychological care. We often use it in conjunction with, we often co-treat. I often get referrals from medical doctors here, which is lovely. And I don't know about, yeah. So we never change treatment plans. Like if someone is on antidepressants and they come in saying they want to go off antidepressants, and then we do a session and they feel better and they ask you, well, can we go off the depressions now? We never refer them back to whoever would prescribe them. We don't change anyone else's treatment schedule. And also just be cautious when your personal beliefs may interfere with your judgment. Now, most people are pretty good at separating, but for instance, a woman and car speaker in Ireland, I don't know, seem to pick on the Irish a lot, but they're game. And they're lovely, and they've got a good sense of humor. Of course, they have very strong beliefs about certain things, and a young teenager wanted to come in. She's a naturopath, so she wanted to talk to her about having an abortion. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't an abortion. This was a birth control. Well, if you can't separate your beliefs from what the patient needs, then probably time to refer. Also, I ask everyone to tell their friends. Most people come to HeartSpeak because someone has said, oh, have you looked into HeartSpeak? And it's a really lovely way to get referrals, is from people's direct referrals. We tend not to attract those who just want professional credits like CPD credits and things like that. I want people to come to courses that want to learn the material. Mostly, want to learn it for themselves, because it certainly can change your life if you use it on yourself. But also that want to help other people too. So please spread the word. I also wanted to mention HeartSpeak Lite. It is one of the most limiting factors I found with the HeartSpeak process is the muscle testing. I would be teaching dozens of people, and this is early on, I would go back and I would ask them, how's the HeartSpeak going? Oh, can't use it, can't muscle test. Oh, and that really, really annoyed me, really frustrated me. So, and I sensed there was a way to be able to do this process without using muscle testing. Kind of like you can do EFT on yourself, but you can also go to an EFT practitioner and have it, have be guided through it as well. So it took a little while for it to emerge, but eventually I started playing around with it without using the muscle test, and I developed the HeartSpeak Lite course from that. It uses only the basic emotions, and it doesn't use muscle testing. So we're just clearing and pivoting the same way without muscle testing. And this is really a really good option for patients, clients, kids, parents, if they want to, get more into the details. There's a couple of ways that they can learn it. There's always the online class, HeartSpeak Lite online, which also goes over, I think, the HeartSpeak tools. Pretty sure it does, yeah. HeartSpeak tools, I should mention too, but I won't finish this thought. And I've also started to teach a HeartSpeak Lite instructors class, and I'm teaching it for the third time next week. And it's HeartSpeak Light instructors, or for anyone that has taken the HeartSpeak level 1 of the HeartSpeak Light process, and you taking this class, you'll be able to teach HeartSpeak Light, the class, a HeartSpeak, which is usually about a 3-hour class, HeartSpeak Light Play Shop, which is basically, so when you guys talk, I listen, and what my instructors told me, my first couple of classes, you know what, this is great, but what if you just had a 1-hour class? Because in the HeartSpeak Light class course, I go over the background like we do, and like a bit of the research. But what if you just had a course for people that just wanted to learn the process and practice it? They don't really care about that background. And I did. I created the HeartSpeak Play Shop, HeartSpeak Light Play Shop, where they just learn it and do it, learn it and do it, keep doing it. So it gets to be natural. And then there's also the HeartSpeak Tools course, which is one of the, that came about because when you're in the middle of an emotional upset, you're not going to say, just 1 second, I'm just going to go up here and do a little bit of a clearing and go back. But you really want to be able to, you're going to make a mental note or write it down. I'm going to clear that later. But you want to be able to, there wasn't ways, how could you manage emotions in the moment? And I've been collecting processes, little tricks, pretty much all my life. And it's a list of 10 of those processes that I found most effective in various situations. So that's the tool. So if you're, like for instance, if you're going into a meeting and you really want to, you know, it's going to be a difficult meeting, you want it to go well, I often suggest using what we call the expansion tool, which is actually the pivot for freeze. Same sort of thing, expand out to the stars and then go into the meeting. And there's 10 of those. And this HeartSpeak Tools, I'm going to be teaching out of the mines here in Australia. There's a lot of, I don't know what goes on out there, but there's a lot of aggression, a lot of bullying, a lot of, the culture is terrible. So I'm going to go out to one of the mines in April, and teach some of the guys, they're all guys, most guys, teach some of the guys some tools to be able to manage their emotions. So it's a very useful thing too. So that's coming up. And even though the registration, the applications have been closed, because you've taken this course, I'm going to say if you want to join it, just I'll send you a link and you can check it out, and that's okay if you're interested. So it's very useful, HeartSpeak Light. There's other HeartSpeak courses as well. There's there's a few how-tos. There's how to do group HeartSpeak. And I have to get the how to do online HeartSpeak. It's all recorded. I just have to get it formatted and uploaded. There's HeartSpeak for Harmonious Relationships, which is really fun. It's a recorded course and you just play it and do the clearings with everyone else. Introduction to muscle testing. There's self-muscle testing techniques. Again, it's recorded and have to upload it. The Oxford studies is when I sit down and just, it's basically to me talking about my research as if I'm at a conference. I actually did this as a webinar once, which gave me the idea, man, I should record it for other people. It explains every study I did and the outcomes of the muscle testing research I did at Oxford. And there's other courses too, which I didn't put up here, like these HeartSpeak for Parents, HeartSpeak for Parents, HeartSpeak for Animals, which is really fun. Anyway, those are the ones that come to mind. HeartSpeak for Yoga. Oh my God, the newest course, super fun. Anyone that's a yoga enthusiast, I teach you how to use feelings within your yoga practice to actually really open it up. really super fun.
I think I speak.
Oh, and of course, I didn't mention this one too. There's the HeartSpeak Light for body workers. If anyone's a body worker, it teaches you how to use feelings to actually create more ease in someone's body. That is, so mainly it's directed to a
You
massage.
go to the next page, you went back to the group one. There was a
Oh,
whole
this
lot-
one. This one here. I'm back at this one. Oh,
Yeah,
it's good. So I did put it here. Okay, good. Okay, I did mention
for
it.
animal.
I thought I had a slide that said all these, but anyway, here we are. Body workers, animals, children, yoga.
Animal, huh?
Super fun.
That's interesting. I'd really like to be able to do that with animals.
Yeah, the thing, most places I have to be invited by a veterinarian. And yeah, I was up in British Columbia. We have a heart speaker up in Smithers, and she loves heart speak and wanted to learn how to do it with her animals. So she invited us up, and it was so much fun. We had mostly dogs and some horses.
Mm-hmm.
We made some changes, good changes in them. Yeah, and there's a vet here in Mackay that is considering it. So I'm really, because of the regulations, I can't actually teach it without a vet. So,
Okay.
But anyway, if you find a vet, I'll be there.
Okay.
But there's an online, I'm a vet, so now you know one here in
You're a vet?
Central PA. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, come on, we'll come out and do it.
Okay.
Super fun, man. It's
Yeah.
super fun and super gratifying. In fact, I have a little cavoodle here. She's my little sweetheart. Here she is.
Oh.
And she's 6 months old, and when I went away teaching in October, November, she stayed with a friend who has a dog that barks. So she came back from that little visit barking at everything. So I had to heart speak that out of her, man. You know,
Well, listen, if you set up something in PA, I would be there for the animals.
yeah, no, it's one of my favorite courses. It's so much fun to teach. And I'll just, how we do it is, we teach, it's using HeartSpeak. It worked really well. We taught a HeartSpeak Lite and then a HeartSpeak Lite for body workers on one day. So it was two half-day courses. And then the next morning, we learned how to apply it to animals, and also, you could imagine, people that aren't, like this are disabled and it's
Verbal.
nonverbal and things like that, or can't play along themselves. So we do a lot of we learn how to do surrogate testing, surrogate clearing, surrogate testing. And we use so we learn the morning we spend doing the learning part and practicing on each other, which by the way was pretty intense as well. And then in the afternoon, we held a free clinic for 2 hours. And anyone could come and bring their animals. People would trailer up horses and bring their pets. And a lot of times you could tell, like, it's really not the animal that needs clearing. It's the human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really super fun. Happy to do that anytime.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I just want to remind you all about the Boomerang Pass. You can repeat. In fact, one person signed up for this that wanted to repeat, but she come on, so she's watching it later. So you can repeat any course it's almost free. I think it's roughly around 10%. Like if you pay 300 for this course, if it's 300, it's 30.
So about the paperwork, the pamphlet, is that available forever or only for the next 30 days?
Which one? Which pamphlet? The
training manual.
No, download it and it's a PDF.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, download it. Yeah. And all the charts, make sure you download. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, if for some reason you lose it or whatever, you could always email Claire and she can forward you. No stress. You will be getting an email. Today is actually Australia Day, which is a national holiday. It's like 4th of July or something. So tomorrow's a public holiday. So you will be usually get it the next day, the email, but probably be a couple days later. But you will get it this week. If you do not get an email from Claire, from us, check your spam folder, please. I don't know how to stop things from going into spam, but they seem to find their way there. And if you don't, please email us and let us know. We'll send it to you again. Because it has lots of information there, not just, you know, it's, you know, like how to do the boomerang pass and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what she all puts in there, but a lot of information. So also practice on yourself. I suggest doing at least one clearing a day. I wake up clearing something and I usually go to bed clearing something. Or if it's really good when you travel and you have jet lag. If you're like can't sleep, just do clearing and by the time even during the clearing, I'm gone. So practice buddy. Now you can find someone to practice with where you are, or there are people around the world that are looking for buddies, practice buddies, and they'll email Claire. That will be in the email as well. If you want a practice buddy, you can do some online sessions, and people do it in various ways. Usually what they do is say, okay, we have an hour, we'll do work on you for half an hour, and then we'll work on me. And they'll do a swap that way, or this week we'll work on me, and then next week we'll work on you. Whatever works for you. Have a session with me. I love working with heart speakers. First of all, it's so much easier. I don't have to explain every little detail, and it just flows really well. And I forget what the discount is. It should be in the email too. It's something like 30% off or something. I'll have to check that. But anyway, I love working with you. I want to support you. So if you want a session, oh, and most of the time, when people say, have a session with me after taking this course, they'll say, wow, I really know how to do a session now. So in a session, I don't muck around. And we have an hour, and we're going to make use of every second. So it's really quite fun. Now and again, I haven't done it most recently. We used to have monthly online sessions, and then they went to like quarterly. In the last 6 months, I haven't had any, but I really like them. They're really fun. I'll see if we can pencil some in again this year. And it's basically come online, ask questions, do some clearing, whatever. Sometimes I'll even have a theme, like if there's something going on in the world, and we need, you know, there's stress about it, you know, come and we'll do some clearing about that. You can repeat anytime. Boomerang pass, other HeartSpeak courses I mentioned, Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, we have a HeartSpeak practitioners Facebook page, which will be, the link will be in the email. Join up. It's where people ask questions or make comments or, oh, I've noticed this happening. In fact, it was about 12 months ago that someone posted, have you noticed that during your clearings, it comes up a lot now that the point of formation is strong, and you go right into the clearing. So in other words, we don't need a point of formation. And I was noticing in my practice, like quite a lot. About 12 months ago it started. And other people, the other practitioners from around the world, they said too. So I said, yeah, it's coming up a lot. So it's a way to say, okay, well, this is coming up in my practice. This is coming up in yours. And even if it's just a personal practice, maybe if it's just a, like your own personal clearings. I have several several really keen, in fact, one particular woman I'm thinking of in Western Australia, she does like an hour of heart speak on herself a day. And she has certain trends that she'll post about too. It's really cool. There's the Heartspeak International Facebook page, which is like the business page with events posted and things, and then there's a practitioner's page. And please practice on yourself. Oh, I didn't do this. Not in here. I used to, we used to take selfies before and after, because when I saw before a class and then after, I would see a big difference in a person. And I don't know, I think I don't think it was a visual. I think it was more I felt the person was different. So I started asking people to do selfies before and after a class. And there is a difference, but by the end of a class, this is usually taught in one full, very long day. Well, not very long, it's just a full day. People are tired, so it's not as evident as I would have imagined, but it's still interesting. So this is the end of the slideshow, but what I'm going to do is like, what I would like, because we have time, it's like 8 o'clock, which is, we still have a good hour. So we can do some more clearing. We could talk about specific topics that, how would you approach such and such?
I'd like to do a clearing about Australia and what's happening in the world, because one of my biggest things is that I don't want to be here anymore, because I don't want to see what's going on anymore.
Yeah, that's huge. Woo!
Yeah.
Got a bit of truth bumps going on there. Yeah, it's,
Truth bumps.
yeah. Yeah, I totally hear you. And you know, when I go to America, I feel the same.
Oh yeah, I mean, Africa, America, whatever. I mean, it's just, I don't want to see what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have this really strong sensation that it's not going to get better soon, sadly. So, and you know, regardless of what happens, I think we have little control over what's happening, but we do have control over what happens in our space, or at least what happens in here. So let's do it. You want to do it? You ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So bring to mind what's happening here in Australia, or was anyway, with all the fires and what's happening all over different parts of the world. Anything that's upsetting you, stressing you, worrying you, into the bucket. Let's use a barrel instead. Barrel. Anything.
Fill to the brim.
Yeah, fill to the brim. Just get your number in mind. Let's clear it. It's related to an emotion, an urge, a resistance, a pleasure. See, this is when things don't make sense. So it's a pleasure. Now, remember, pleasure is a big spectrum of feelings. Anything from an ecstasy and bliss to a relief or a comfort. Okay? Point of formation. There's no point of formation. So close your eyes and dive forward into a beautiful, lovely, delicious pool of pleasure where you can forget about everything that's going on. Dive right in and immerse yourself. It just feels so good just to be here in this space of pleasure. Let yourself enjoy this pleasure, indulge this pleasure, yourself with this pleasure. Make it woozy, dizzy, lose yourself in it. Ah, it feels so good. And you can have as much of this pleasure as you like, because this time it never runs out. Keep diving, keep enjoying, keep indulging. ask you to take your time, but at some point you will reach a point where it feels like you've had enough. When it will more feel like, I'm going to suggest that it might feel like you're ready for the next thing. Okay, I'm good. Where are we going to go next? Just wait for that pleasure, the longing, the wanting, the, no, wait, a bit more, until that subsides. And when you're ready, sit up. If you're ready to pivot, you know the pivot. So it's choosing, but if you're ready to pivot, go ahead and do it. If you're not, yeah, because that feeling is a feeling, that pleasure is a feeling, you could choose to feel it anytime you like. So enjoy it again, but this time from a choice perspective. Enjoy it from choice for a moment before opening your eyes. All right, and then what we're gonna do is gonna check our barrels again. Check, think about the world happening here, happening in California, wherever, Africa, everywhere. North Pole. Anything that's upsetting, climate, whatever, into the bucket, into the barrel rather. How full does your barrel feel now? Still pretty full?
About half.
Okay, let's keep going. It's related to an emotion this time. So fear, anger. Probably have no trouble getting a bit of anger up. Point information. Oh, you need one. In the womb as a baby, as a child, little girl, little boy, just feel the anger. I want to say it's not fair. It's just not fair. Shake your little fists and allow your little self. She has every reason to feel this anger emerge. Now, anger comes in waves, so if it subsides, just wait a breath or two and then try to bring it back. Anger takes all kinds of forms, so just even if there's any kind of a burn or keep going. Imagine the anger tunnel too. You just want to tunnel right through so you emerge from the other end.
Why is Jerry crying?
And if you're ready to pivot, the pivot's joy. Keep going. If you're still clearing, you keep clearing. And pivot to joy, but we're going to go somewhere else. And that kids are really good at joy. So let your heart dance with joy for a moment. Regardless of what's happening externally to him or her, you can still feel joy. And then just a moment, there's another feeling we're going to go to. I'm going to send you right through to determined as well. Determined. Not determined about anything or for anything. It's just they're determined. Enjoy that for a moment before opening your eyes. All right. And back to the bucket now. Just reflect on everything that's going on in the world. I can always say world peace starts with inner peace. You know, not so sure we'll ever eventually reach that, but we can be happy ourselves. How does your barrels feel?
Not much.
Not much. How about you?
Yeah, same.
Cool.
Much better.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jerry, where are you? In Quebec itself? No.
No, I'm about 6 hours from it. So it's a car drive for me.
Oh, okay. So you're in Boston. You're near Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah. Cool.
That was a big one.
Yeah, it is big. You know.
So the fires are out?
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't really see it on the news anymore. So it's funny, you know, you tell me, are the fires out? I don't know.
We don't see it on the news. We don't see anything on the news over here, so except Trump.
Yeah. Okay.
Making everybody's day.
Oh my God, Trump, don't even.
Just shot back up.
Yeah, I know. I forgot to put it in my barrel.
Yeah.
I could go, believe it or not, I can go weeks here without hearing that name.
Oh, that's lovely.
I know, right? It's good. I'm coming there in May to speak at the a conference in Baltimore and teach Heart Speak, Light for Anxiety. And to Baltimore. I'm really excited about that. It'll be good. And then I'm going to go up to Montreal to do the it's actually Memorial. I think it's Memorial. I think it's actually not Memorial Day weekend. I think it's the weekend before Memorial Day weekend. After Memorial Day weekend. But regardless, yeah. So, what else? You guys have been good. Even though we're
tired.
Sorry?
I think I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah. It is tiring. You gotta honor that. So again, level 2s and 2 in just about sometime in March anyway, and then the Heart Speak Light instructors starts next week. So I'm just writing notes as far as what I have to write on the email. Good. And our friend from are you actually in Russia? Are you?
In the United States.
Oh, you're in the United States. I'm sorry, but you're.
Okay. I'm Ukrainian, not Russian.
I'm sorry. Oh, I know that's a faux pas. That's like calling a Canadian American.
Yeah.
We don't do that, right? But I was contacted last week, by a woman in Moscow who's going to sponsor a HeartSpeak Level 1 online in Russian in September. So that'll be fun. Where are you in America?
In the suburb of New York.
Oh, in the suburb of New York. Oh, lovely. So you guys are all East Coast.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's unusual, actually. Actually, the other woman, the one that is watching later, she's from Toronto. So we're all try to.
We're getting more awakened.
Well, East Coast definitely needs to become awake because it's a little bit lagging behind, I think.
It's the Puritans. We're still recovering.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I feel we're good, unless you guys want to have any questions. Oh, that's another thing. Normally what I do is a few weeks after the wrapping up of a course, because we meet online just to touch base for an hour. Do you want to pencil something like that in just to see how things are going?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Online
Yeah.
a few weeks after the course for an hour.
Sure, if you want.
Yeah. I just have to get my schedule up because February I'm teaching that
Of course, I
online.
didn't bring my calendar, but
All right. So, okay, cool. So what about a Sunday evening?
works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, usually that's pretty good for people. Sunday evening, East Coast US is Monday morning my time, which is perfect. And hold on. So right now it's 5:19, 5:18. What if we do it around 5 o'clock one Sunday so today's what's today? The 26th, 1, 2. What about the 9th of February? That's in 2 weeks' time, or you want to go a bit longer? We
The
have,
9th works for me. Longer, I'll be on vacation.
okay, 9th is good. Yeah, 9th is good. Okay.
9th at 5 o'clock.
Is that good for you, Pamela and
Yes, perfect.
Vladimir?
I need to check schedule.
Okay.
Possible, yes.
Okay, and we'll say 5 p.m., but I'm really flexible with time, so if like 5 p.m. doesn't work, we can move to 7 or whatever. Usually Sunday evenings are usually good for most people to do the online meetup. And just in the meantime, practice and
Email any questions.
yeah, email questions. If you run into any roadblocks, which isn't unusual, or oh my gosh, this is what happened. Is this normal? You can always. Are you all on Facebook or no?
Yeah.
People are going
Yeah,
away.
not yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Not yet on your Facebook, but on my own.
We'll all get connected, and there's like a lot of rich resources there. Some really great practitioners around the world there. So you can post questions there too, and always email me. Always happy to connect.
Okay.
Do you know Olga, Vladimir?
Olga, who?
Manena. She is in Brooklyn. No, it's just how did you come across HeartSpeak?
One practitioner, chiropractor on seminar told me about you, yes, and I found that I probably want to go to Montreal and maybe Light. It's next week, right? So I want to learn more a little bit.
Yeah, it's big light. Oh yeah, it starts next week. Yeah. Great. Okay. So the reason I said Olga is in New York too, and she tells everyone about Art Speak in the New York area. So I was wondering if she.
No, she was from Connecticut.
Oh,
The
okay.
seminar was in Connecticut, so she.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Jerry, you have a question or a comment?
Oh, no, I'm gonna sign off now.
All right. Yes. Lovely to see
Okay.
everyone. I'll stop the